So let's talk about a little domain and range here. So my domain for the functions, well, if you look at the function, it's going to look something like this if it's growth. And although it keeps getting more and more vertical, it still continues to go off to the right and increase in values. Whereas down here, it actually starts to flatten out. It doesn't go below, say in our cases, it didn't go below 0. All right, so but it keeps going to the left, it keeps going to the right. That's what we're worried about for domain. So domain is going to be x equals all real numbers, and it's always going to be that for your exponential functions. So for our range, we got a different scenario here. Remember, for our two graphs that we had, it didn't go below the x-axis, which is basically saying that it's greater than 0 for our y value. So our range is going to be y is greater than 0. Now, this is not always the case with every single graph. For the two graphs we've done so far, yeah, our range is greater than 0. Always meet the positive numbers in those two. Later on, when we start, so we have this for our graph. Later on, when we start moving our graph and we have graphs that start like this, it's going to look a little bit different. We're going to be shifting them around using transformations. That's a fun word, blast from the past. Now you're going to be, greater than -3 or greater than 5 or whatever it might be. So the range is going to change. And we already talked about the y-intercept on those last two, and that was at 0, 1. And again, that's going to change too when our transformations start moving the graph around. So we'll talk more about the y-intercept later with those different scenarios. So just a quick recap of what we were talking about before. We had one that was growth. That looked like this. Whoop. And the other one was decay, where our y values decrease as the x increases. Now they were both approaching the x-axis, which we talked about as an asymptote, and that's y equals 0 was our line. And that's going to change when we start adding new things to the graphs as we go.